This is very exciting as this is something new for all of us. So welcome everyone to Exploring Uncertainty, Finding Possibility Through Contemplative Art with Beth Berila. I'm Maya Elinevsky, the Events and Outreach Manager here at the Center for Contemplative Mind and Society. In response to the needs expressed by our community, we're thrilled to be able to offer this opportunity to come together and be led through practice. Beth will share a practice with us that has been helpful to provide a sense of grounding in such uncertain times. Now I'd like to hand it off to you, Beth.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining me. Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Maya, Carrie, and C-Mind for creating this space and hosting, doing the heavy lifting and making sure this can happen. Really, really grateful for that. I think, like many of you, and the outpouring of interest in these kinds of online practices together indicates that we're hungry for this space to come together in some ways to be together in collective energy and to process our reactions and to grow and learn together when we can't physically necessarily be in the same place. So thank you so much to C-Mind, Maya, and Carrie for helping to make this happen and for helping it to flow smoothly. As Maya mentioned, this is a trial, that the first time we're doing it like this, and one of the technical glitches that's happening on my end is that there's road construction. So hopefully you can't hear that in a distracting way. So let's just for a moment take a couple breaths together. Can find some grounding, have your feet on the floor or your sit bones in a chair. And take a couple deep breaths. Just bringing your awareness to the here and the now. And sensing all the other beings that are on this call with us, coming together in community. Our energies might be a little muted because we're not in physical presence with each other, and yet we are still in community with each other. So can we open our feelers and sense that energy even across time and space? And as you take the next couple breaths, I'll invite you to really connect with whatever part of you is grounding you to the earth or to your chair. Let your breath really anchor you in that grounding, root you. And make that an intentional touch-in whenever you find yourself kind of floating up, beginning to feel a little unmoored or ungrounded. And I'll invite you, if your eyes are closed, to gently open them and look around your space. Orient yourself in your space. And maybe cue in to something that brings you joy. Maybe it's a tree out your window, or a plant, or a sculpture, picture of a loved one. Just something around you that invokes joy for you. And know that that is also available to you during this practice and afterwards, that intentional touching in, even amidst unsettling emotions. And now, if I can ask you to do a brief check-in with yourself, how are you coming into this space this morning? Either in general or maybe intentionally, specifically around the global pandemic we're in the middle of. How is that shaping your state of being at this moment? And see if the responses can emerge from within you. Maybe less from the mind down and more from the inner outward. And then as you want to bring yourself back into connection with your screen and with each other on your screen, you can, if you wouldn't mind, typing in maybe 3 words that characterize in the chat, typing in the chat 3 words that characterize the state you're in regards to COVID. So you should have a chat on the bottom of your screen. If you hover over the toolbar, there's a chat button. And when you press it, there should open a window on the right. And if you type in some words that maybe characterize how you're coming into this space, how COVID is shaping you right now. Oh, and here they come. Okay, I'll read a few. Relieved school ending, grieving, anxious, and fearful today. Yeah. Curious, alert, calm. Grief, exhausted, grateful. Hopeful, one word. Anxious, bored, tired. Unmoored, yet calm. Isolated, anxious, joy, cooking. We can all read what people are saying. Looking, wondering, tired. With the silver linings. Vibration, tired, lonely. First responder, tired. Thank you for doing that. Sad for others suffering. Relief, okay, excited. Grateful, anticipating, excited. Creative, anxious, TGIF. Worried about my brother, an ICU nurse. May he be safe. Thankful for community. Yeah, me too. Wondering, hopeful, awake. Oh, grieving the death of a parent. Cindy, sending you love and healing. So sorry. That's okay. Computers give us problems these days. Lots of grace around that. So taking in this collective energy that is within our virtual space. Thank you. I'm grateful to be here with you too. This collective response that is kind of all over the spectrum, right? That's in this virtual space and also in our world around us, in our local families, our local communities, and in the surrounding community as well, right? The whole world is pulsing, I think, with the spectrum of emotions, and it can change from second to second, from day to day. And so part of it is, for me, how do I remain present with my own responses? How do I explore my own responses, since I don't always know what they are? There's a layering and a complexity to them. And be present with those around me who are also doing the same things, right? There's a lot of unsettling, there's a lot of unknown. And this practice is an informal art creativity practice for us to be with that and to be with it in community in a way that maybe opens some meaning. So I'm going to share my screen. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. And just as a way of bringing everybody into the space. C-Mind invited this practice, and they'll be doing other online practices like this, more informal spaces for us to gather and collectively practice together in a virtual space. And so this is my offering today, because I have found art to be a useful venue. I'm just gonna go through some, give you a kind of sense of where we're going. For some people that can be helpful. So we did some intros. I'm gonna do a brief overview. I'm going to offer some framing comments, and then I'm going to just open some prompts for us. As I said, this is going to be a contemplative practice. It's really for kind of informal, so I'm not going to craft it a lot. I'm going to offer you some prompts, and you can take those prompts wherever you want to go. And then we'll come to a close. We'll do some breakouts and some optional sharing. Okay, so that's a general arc. My invitation to you is to start creating whenever you feel called to do so. I will offer the framing comments and some prompts, and then remain quiet for large chunks of time, then come back in with another prompt part way through, and then come back in to bring us to some momentary closure. And I say momentary because this is an ongoing practice. You can continue at whatever point you want, and so it's not something to be completed in an hour and a half. So before we get too far into reflecting on our responses to the uncertainty, I want to invite you to consider what can hold you in this experience of a global pandemic that is hitting at an unprecedented level all around the world. What can hold you? What is holding you? Maybe it's spirit. Maybe it's your faith. Maybe it's music or art. Maybe it's community. And my invitation is to listen to what your inner voice immediately says when I ask that question. What can hold you? Is there even like a little whisper that tells you immediately, I'm holding you? Can you breathe into that relationship with whatever it is for you, like it's a lifeline, something that you can intentionally strengthen with reflection or breath, space, or ritual? And like your grounding that we practiced, like that object of joy we connected with, this element that can hold you, this energy that can hold you, have that surrounding you to the degree that you can as you explore this practice. So, as we have noticed, COVID-19 has brought life as we know it to a screeching halt. Systems have stopped. Many of us are educators, and how we educate has dramatically changed practically overnight. Many of us are not able to see our students in the same way. We can't connect and have community in the same way. So much has changed so quickly. And in that, we've also seen inequalities highlighted, right? We know that there's strong anti-Asian and anti-Asian American racism exploding around this virus. We know that people of color are disproportionately hit by this illness and the lack of care around it. We know that many people who are already economically on the edge lost their jobs and have no real hope that a replacement will come soon. We know that this illness is hitting people living with disabilities particularly hard. We know domestic violence rates have skyrocketed with a shelter in place, and that many LGBTQ folk are having to shelter in unwelcome places if they even have homes. So all of these things were already present, and this COVID-19 has highlighted them all. And we are being challenged to shift how we live and how we orient to one another. So as I'm saying all this, none of which I'm sure is a surprise to any of you, notice what is arising. And again, feel free to start creating whenever you feel called to do so. Notice the sensations that arise. You feeling hot or cold? Is movement coming up? What thoughts are arising? And what are the emotions underneath the thoughts? Is there sadness or grief, frustration, anger, hopefulness, longing? Does any of that have a color or a texture? Simultaneously, as we have left one shore, we haven't yet gotten to the other one. We don't even know where we're going necessarily. We are in a liminal space. And that is one of the places where uncertainty arises. The ground is no longer familiar. Maybe it's not even under us. We're in open water. And that can get really unsettling. But it's also an invitation. What are we called to let go of in this liminal space? What no longer serves us? And as we explore the answers to those questions that might emerge from within us, can we lean on what's holding us to navigate the discomfort of this transformation? And I'll pause here for a while so we can explore that inner voice and wisdom. If you find that it would be helpful, periodically come back to your breath, come back to that grounding, feeling your feet on the earth, your chair and your sit bones in your chair. Connect with that item that brought you joy. Rest back into that which is holding you, even as you open to the messages of the uncertainty. So feel free to continue along the path that you are on with that exploration. If it feels right to you, you can also listen to my next prompts and see if any of that resonates with you. So, in this open water, having left the shores of the habitual, but not yet created new strategies, new ways of being, um, we are in this liminal space, right? What are we called to let go of? What no longer serves us? Always asking those questions while being held in that energy or element that supports you. And as we do that exploration of the uncertainty and the unknown, what do we need to trust to navigate this space? And can we trust it? What do we need to trust as we navigate this deep uncertainty? And can we trust it? Listen to where the yes is coming from and how it shows up. Or if it's a no or an I don't know, listen to where that's coming from and how that shows up. Taking in some breaths, grounding wherever we are connected to the earth. Resting in whatever's holding us as we do these explorations. Again, my invitation is to continue with whatever path you're exploring, or if it feels right to you, to tune into the prompts. As we are in this open water of unknown territory, watching the paradigms we've worked with crumble, the systems around us crumble. Some of us have known they have never worked for some of us, or at least they've worked, but they've perhaps marginalized us. And now we're in this open space of unknown. What's going to come next? We are also in an open space of becoming. Right? Transformation is inherently an uncomfortable process as we let go of of what is familiar, even if it doesn't serve us. And we haven't yet emerged into what will be coming. So as we consider what are we willing to let go of, maybe we can also be listening for what wants to emerge. What is being revealed as possible? And how do we create the conditions for it to emerge? Like the caterpillar in a chrysalis, it's an uncomfortable process. That cocoon will eventually become stifling and too small, even though it is familiar and temporarily safe. But something in the caterpillar is calling it to turn into something else. What if we listen to that voice, that inner wisdom? What will it tell us about what wants to emerge? What might be possible? And how do we create the conditions for that to emerge? And who do you want to be in this situation and as we move through this transformation into a new possibility? Who do you want to be? How do you show up? We will be coming up to our pause in about 5 minutes. So if you want to find a place in your creative process that is a good place to pause, know that you have another 5 more minutes. And as we come into our pause, knowing that this is a pause in the creative process, not an ending point, taking a few deep breaths. Connecting to what's grounding you to the earth. resting back in what's holding you in this process. Connecting to whatever you earmarked as bringing you joy today. Look at what you created, which is still in process like we all are, but take it in. Reflect on what you notice. So at this point, we will go into some breakout groups where you can have a chance to kind of talk through some of your explanations, or explorations rather. If it's something you can't put words to, that's okay. Maybe just name some sensations or some questions, or you can show your art if you wish. You don't have to. But if you would like to, you can reflect with one another and notice if any themes emerged. So Maya's going to go ahead and put you in some breakout groups. You'll have about 10 minutes, and then we will come back as a whole. I'll let people come on back. I had some good conversations in my breakout room. Thank you, breakout group. Let's see. Okay, we'll give people another minute or so. While we're waiting, for those who are already back in, if you want to start typing in the chat a reflection or two that emerged, a theme or two, or a question or two. We've got about 9 minutes left, and Maya and I just want to do a brief wrap up at the very end. But in the meantime, if anybody wants to type in a chat, any of the observations. I know I had a rich conversation with my small group. So Rebecca writes, trusting the mess was a pretty common theme. Yeah. How do we trust the mess? Although we are thousands of miles apart, common themes emerged. Camille writes, so wonderful to connect with people about their process and experience. Very open-hearted and exploratory. Oh my goodness. What we need right now, right? Dr. Joseph at Doctor, congratulations. Whoop, whoop, Doctor. Theme nature we are a part of. He just finished his dissertation. Awareness that the free flow of art brings change. The free flow of art brings change. Heart and light, Amy writes. Daisy writes, paradoxes of this time. Yeah. Cindy, what wants to emerge? Hope, nature, care of self and others, connection to community. What a gift this has been. Thank you, Beth, for the structure, the invitations, the opportunity to dialogue with others. Thank you for going with me on this journey. Finding the calm by creating, Ellen writes. Mary, great to share with people, need more time in group. We all saw we were in the middle of a process. Yeah. Carrie, wonderful to watch everyone trust in their creative processes and all the different things that emerged. Yeah. Marcy, a sense of intentional community. Yeah, it was tricky while doing this. I know that creation usually needs a lot more than 20-minute chunks. So I do hope that you can continue to do this in your time. I love the discovery that the art allows for, Marlo writes. Very helpful to have a framework to do this. a feeling of connection with others, Elena writes. That was something we were really hoping for with this practice. And I know C-Mind will be doing more of these kinds of practices. Yeah. Thanks for helping me break through and get back to my crayons and Crayola slick sticks. Nice. Very nice. Absolutely. Well, thank you, everyone. Oh, would love to have another session like this. Yes. And I think C-Mind is, in fact, going to be hosting others, and they'll tell you a little bit about that. Want to just briefly share some of my inspirations for those prompts. I've been inspired. Heather Plett is a transformative coach and does a lot of work on holding space. And she wrote a really beautiful post about using art as a creative process. Some of the questions about embodiment and form and energy and leaving one shore not yet at the other around transformation is from my somatics training. And then I'm not an artist or an art therapist, but I have learned a little bit about expressive arts from Kat Carasello. And so as we wrap up, and I'll turn this over to Maya, I want to thank you so, so much for joining me in this practice. It was just such a beauty to be in space with you, to see some familiar faces and some people that I hope to meet in the future. So grateful to the Center for Contemplative Mind and Society for offering these kinds of things. I know I have grown so much through them and really appreciated the community C-Mind brings. Special thanks to Maya and Carrie, who just, make these events come off flawlessly, and all I have to do is show up, and that's just, I'm so grateful. Please do stay in touch. My email is there, my website's there. I look forward to staying in dialogue and community with you. Thank you so much for joining, and I'm going to turn it over to Maya.
Thank you so much, Beth, for just holding this space for all of us so wonderfully and gently. And I want to say thank you to everyone for joining us today and bearing through this sort of exploration together and this new platform and this new way of creating community. We just also wanted to quickly mention this great idea that Beth had. If folks are interested in sharing photos of their art or creations, we invite you to find us on Facebook at Contemplative Mind and post a little picture, and then keep this sense of community going and keep a connection with one another in a new way. So thank you all again, and please visit our website, contemplativemind.org, to follow along as we develop new programming and new wonderful offerings such as this. Thank you so much again, Beth, and everyone for joining us. Be well and have a good weekend.
Yes, take care. Bye, everyone.